Hey guys, welcome back to the Workbench. This is Dan here as always, and in this video we're going to be doing another exciting review of a locomotive that has just come out. Like I said, I'm very excited about it because it's one that I've wanted for quite some time, and this is the first time any large manufacturer has done this locomotive in mass production, and I'm very excited. So obviously by the title you know what it is. It is the GMD SD40-2 by Bowser Trains. And I'm very excited about this because I've wanted one of these GMD SD40s for quite some time, and they're complicated to build because they're quite a bit different from standard American built EMD SD40-2. So I haven't opened this one in particular out of the box yet. I haven't looked over everything. Like I said, I just got this in the mail today, so if there's anything wrong with this right out of the box, you'll be able to see it just as I will. I'll try to go over this thing in detail, but still keep the video relatively short to save time. And like I said, go over this with you guys, fair and simple. So we'll go ahead and get started on this and see how this thing looks. So here's how the box looks, and you can see it up close. It's pretty nicely packaged as it appears. It's sort of similar with the Athearn packaging on the RTR line, how they have the plastic cover over the box like this. Only difference is that this is on the outer casing, not unlike on the inner casing for an Athearn unit, where the housing that holds the locomotive is wrapped in a similar packaging. So that's something a little bit different, but I really do like the packing on this, so that's pretty cool. So we'll go ahead and take this guy out of the box very carefully and take a look at this model here. So then we have one more bit of packing I will take off. Again, pretty similar to the Athearn packing. It has the plastic slip here. We pull it out. And the first thing we want to look at here is the manual, which we have here. So we'll go ahead and open this up together here. The first thing I can see here in this is basically some lubrication and some DCC decoder information here. So you can see they specify that these are lightly lubricated from the factory, so I'm guessing that this is just really a manual on specifying where to lubricate these, pretty much. So that's interesting. And on the back here, there's really nothing else there, but pretty simplified manual there. That's actually pretty interesting, but that's the manual right there, and we'll see if there's any other paperwork in this. But for now, we'll just get right to the model. So we'll take this bit off the top here, and we'll take the locomotive out of the box very carefully here. And it looks like there's something that holds this in place because it's not really moving. I'm going to try to budge this thing free here. As you can see, it does not really want to come out of the box for some reason, so I'm going to do a little bit of investigation here and see if I can't get this out of the package. Alrighty, so about a minute later I figured out how to take this thing off, and it's actually quite interesting, and I will show you why it's stuck in place like that. Bowser actually screws the model to the packing. This piece of plastic is screwed into the fuel tank here, and these two screws have to be loosened in order for you to take this engine out of the package. So once you do that, you can slide it out. And I'll go ahead and move this out of the way. Now, if you look at the bottom of the fuel tank, this is one little thing I kind of don't like, is these massive screw holes. Not that you're going to see this, but you know it's there, and I think that's kind of weird in a way, but you know, it's one of those little things. You can't really complain too much because you're not going to ever see us. So as we look at the model here on the ground, I'll go ahead and take my camera off the tripod here so we can get right up close to this beautiful engine. The unit I have here is the CP Rail 5723 in the dual flag scheme. Kind of about the... I'm not exactly familiar with or savvy with CP Rail paint scheme history, but I think this is one of the later CP Rail paint schemes from the original multi-mark logo, which was the Pac-Man on the high hood. As we look at this model right out of the box, I can see that it looks very, very nice. It's very well detailed. You can see we got the working ditch lights on the front here, which look really very, very nice. They're nicely scaled down. You got all the Canadian specific details on the front. You got a KD, what looks like a KD metal knuckle coupler there, and then you got all the front details like the lift rings, the correct handrails, which I'm very proud of there. They look very nice. Got the correct nose light and CP Rail font. The CP Rail, or Canadian style sand filler hatches, are all there. And then you've got the correct nose length on this as well, which is very nice. As we look at the cab, all the printing and everything is very nicely printed. It's all eligible and it looks very good. As we look into the cab, you can see that we have a little bit of in-cab detail. One thing I can note about this is that the seats look like they're very far away from the cab sides, which is not prototypical considering that the seats are right up to the cab. Again, a very, very small detail discrepancy that might too many people might not notice. As we look at the side here, you can see we have the plastic handrails, which are very, very durable. I can say that they're similar to the durability of a set of Kato handrails, but they are a little bit more finer, so that's very nice. Very nice touch there. The CP rail dual flag scheme is very well printed on there. It looks very nice, and then everything else on the high hood looks pretty nice. The door detail is pretty good, as I can see. The grill details, the chicken wire grills look very nice. This is actually pretty similar. The detail on this is pretty similar to some of the earlier Athearn RTR SD40-2s. Pretty close. There is some damage I can note up here on the top that I can see right at the bat. The horn is damaged. You can see it's bent out of shape. I can probably take this and with a little heat realign the bells and all that, but that'll be something I can do later. But that's the little bit of damage I can notice there. On the roof here you can see we have see-through, dynamic, and radiator fans. We have the correct CP rail style winterization hatch, and you can actually see through the hatch here, which is really awesome. That's going to look really good once that's all weathered up. You got the antenna platform back here, which is very interesting on this CP rail prototype. And on the back here, you got the correct single light there, and then no number boards, which is also very important to these prototypes. And Bowser executed that very nicely. We got separately applied grab irons, and then we got the knuckle brackets mounted on the tread on the back porch here, which is also prototypical and looks very good. The tread detail alone is very, very nice. You can see it's pretty nicely scaled down and it looks very nice. Not like the Intermountain or Kato tread plating where it's very thick and unrealistic. Something else that's really interesting on the back end here, we have an operating drop step, which is a nice little detail. So that's pretty cool. And again, all the accurate Canadian style details all the way down to the cables and coupler bars are very nicely modeled, and I really, really like those. So those look really good. Now, here's my favorite part so far that I can see. As we look at the truck detail, you can see the trucks are very, very nicely done. You have sanding cables, you have air lines mounted to the air reservoirs, and then all the details are very, very, very nicely done. I really am liking these trucks so far, I can tell you that much. Fuel tank detailing is pretty simple, but it does look good, and it is plainly visible. We got all the fuel tank details. Like I said, the gauges, piping, and then on this truck you got the chain hanging down from the tensioner here, leading to this air reservoir here, which is pretty cool, and very nice detail there. So we'll go ahead and move on to the other side here. As we look at this side, pretty much about the same, and I really, like I said, love these trucks. These look very nice. Another important Canadian style detail here is the Canadian style steps. Something that's very hard to model on, say, if you were to start with a Kato or Athearn unit, you'd have to cut those steps out, and it's a real hassle. And Bowser did a very nice job doing this detail as well, so kudos to them for making these and making this unit look very accurate to its true Canadian prototype. We do also have lift rings on this engine. I should point out here, another really nice step is the lift rings, because a lot of people are into a high level of detail, and the lift rings and all that, separately applied parts like this really do add a whole other level of detail to a model. So I really like those in particular, and the CP rail logo is probably my favorite part of this engine as well. It just looks very, very nice. It's very well done. And you can see all the printing and everything, like I said, is very well done, and it's very crisp and clean and eligible, and that's a very nice feature on this. So you can see we also on this side, I want to again point out, you can kind of see it into the cab. You can see the seats are kind of far away from the sides of the cab, which is not technically accurate because the seats would be right up to the cab sides, but like I said, that's a very minor discrepancy there, and in reality you can probably take this thing apart, and if you wanted to, remove the cab interior or even modify the cab interior to taste. So that's just one of those little things. It's not too big of a deal. We do have some more grab irons on the front here. I believe the number boards also on this unit light up, which would be also really nice, and even on some of the earlier schemes on, like, say, some of the CP rail multi-mark units units, they have the class lights up above the number boards like these earlier CP rail units had, and as far as I know, those class lights are controllable, which is would be really cool to have. So you can see it looks very nice overall. And what my plan is with this is I'm going to weather it and change a few things on it to be more prototypical to the real 5723. But right out of the box, I can say Bowser did a very nice job on this engine. It looks very good. And real quick, we'll go ahead and take this on down to the test track to see how this thing runs. Alrighty, so for the track testing, what I'm going to do is run this locomotive on a test track of Bachmann Easy Track here in both forward and reverse. Right now it's important to keep in mind that this is a straight DC model, so all of the lighting features on this are going to operate with the output of the throttle. They are not separate. However, the benefit of having this locomotive with a DCC decoder, or any locomotive for that matter, is that you can control all the lighting and everything else separately from the actual controlling of the locomotive. But I will plan on doing a DCC installation on this locomotive later on. Right now, the sole purpose of this demonstration is to demonstrate how the locomotive performs right out of the box. So we'll go ahead and put this thing in forward and try it out. As you can see, it seems to be running very smoothly right now. Alrighty, and now we will put this in reverse. And again in forward. And a little bit more in reverse. But you can hear how quiet it runs. It's very smooth, very similar to how Kata locomotives perform. So I'm very happy with how it's performing so far. So in the next test here, we'll be coupling it up with a cut of 30 rail cars to test out the pulling performance on this locomotive. Okay, for the load test of this locomotive, I'm going to be pulling the 30 assorted freight cars here in forward. And I'm just going to very slowly start to throttle her up here. And I'll go ahead and start to throttle her down a little bit. And I'll now put this in reverse to conclude the weight test. Okay, so to conclude this video, the locomotive is very nice, it's very well detailed, and it looks great. The performance on track, it was very amazing. I'm very surprised how it performed right out of the box. It ran great, smoothly, and it pulled very well, compared to, say, an Athearn RTR locomotive that right out of the box you usually have to tweak or really what I'd call fine-tune in order for it to run smoothly and perfectly. So that's a really nice step here in the right direction. So I'm very happy with how Bowser executed this project. I think it looks very good. The detail, the painting, everything on this locomotive is great. And they offer these in both the DCC and sound version with the, I believe, the Loc sound decoder, which is very nice, and then they also offer these, like I said, in the non-sound DC version, which is like the one that I have here. So it's a great buy and well worth the money. I ended up buying this particular locomotive from Hog Trains for $160, I believe. The absolute lowest I've seen the DC versions go for was $150, and the absolute top I've seen these go for was $180 for the DC version. So that's pretty. It's really not that bad. It's about the average price of one of the more modern Athearn Genesis locomotives in that about that price range. So it's pretty affordable in that sense, and it's a very nice locomotive, and I highly recommend it for any of you CP modelers out there. Get one. It's definitely worth a while. So one other little thing I wanted to mention, as I was looking through the box, I found that it actually includes a little parts bag here. And I wanted to show these little detail parts, and I didn't realize what they were at first until I looked closer and realized that Bowser includes some separate parts here, like these exposed bearing caps here, for example. Upon further investigation, I realized that you can actually remove the bearing cap covers on these trucks to replace them with exposed bearing caps. Because what CP Rail did with a lot of their SD40-2s is they kind of went about through service was they ended up taking the bearing cap covers off to have the exposed bearing caps, which is a very interesting detail I've never seen done before. And I really applaud Bowser for doing that, because they give you a whole other option to go into a higher level of detail with these locomotives to actually have a prototypical variation where you can model the exposed bearing caps on a particular prototype, which I know for a fact the real 5723 has exposed bearing caps on the trailing truck and the lead truck on the third bearing here on both trucks. So that's really cool. That's definitely a detail I'll be doing to this locomotive, changing that out anyways. And another really cool detail that they actually included in this parts bag is the actual snow broom, which is a pretty common detail you see on these CP and CN prototypes, because they'll usually have these on the front or rear walkways, kind of leaned up against the cab or high hood, and what those brooms are used for is snow removal. So it's just another one of those little details that I think is very interesting, and Bowser did a very nice job on that. So they really did really paid a lot of attention to this particular prototype. So I'm very happy with how it turned out, and it's definitely worth the money. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Hopefully this answered all your questions about this particular prototype, and I definitely could say that I'll be buying some more of these in the upcoming future. So stay tuned for more videos from my end here, guys. Like I said, if you have any questions about this review, any questions about the locomotive in general, you can leave a comment below, and I'll do my best to answer the question. Also, be sure to check out my Facebook page, Dan's Custom Trains. Daniel Arnold is my name there. You can check my page out. Follow it if you'd like. Subscribe and comment. Leave your comments below, like I said. And stay tuned for more videos in the future. I'll definitely be posting more reviews as we go along here, and I'll be posting some how-tos on weathering. I got to have some videos coming up here soon of some fading techniques too, which will be pretty interesting. Maybe even some fading techniques on when I start to weather this guy here. So definitely stay tuned for that, like I said, guys. And in the meantime, thanks for watching, and take care as always.